Hello, and welcome to the first official episode of Be Scared. As I mentioned in the last video, I will be covering a lot of different subjects, all ghost related, but they could be my stories or other people's stories that they have submitted. I will specify at the beginning of that episode that, whether it is my story or theirs. One ghost story that is really sticking out to me right now as I think about it is growing up, my sister and I loved playing ghost games, whether it be Ouija board, light as a feather, cat scratch, or the most active ghost game that we ever played was Red Door, Yellow Door. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a game where you lie with your head in someone's lap and you have to play it with at least 2 players. And you lie with your head in their lap and they massage your temples and they repeat to you, red door, yellow door, any other color door. And you put your arms straight in the air, and as you feel yourself slip into the trance, your arms will drop. And once you're inside, you will be guided by the person behind you, by whoever's with you, in through these doors and whatever. And there's very distinct rules that you have to follow. One of them being, don't talk to anything you see. You can open doors, but do not open any drawers, don't open boxes, that sort of thing. Toy chests are okay, but don't open a lockbox. You can look out the window, but if you see people out of the window, leave the room. And if there's a person in the room that you are at, if they are just there, it's okay to be in there. But if they are trying to talk to you, leave the room. And if you see a man with a black hat, wake up immediately. But you have to wake up safely. So you're telling the person who's guiding you what you're seeing as you're going through. And it's basically a gut game. You trust your gut and you go with okay, this door doesn't give me a bad vibe, I'm gonna go in here. Or, I don't know, this door is kind of giving me wishy-washy vibes, I'm not gonna go in that one. And normally, the rule of thumb is darker colored doors, try to stay away from them, especially if they're red or black. But if they're lighter colored doors, you're more than likely safe to go in. And my sister and I had been playing this game for 10 years at this point. And we had a little house party. And we just moved to this super small town. We were really weird for the kids there because we were very ghosty and witchy and they didn't know what to do with us. And one of these girls who was very dedicated Christian and very open about not believing in ghosts was like, oh, I want to do it. I want to do it just to prove it's not real. And I told her, I was like, you cannot go into it with that mindset. You have to go in open-minded. And so, she promised me she'd go in open-minded. She took a few minutes to get in zen with herself, to get herself prepared. And I was guiding her through the doors. And we very explicitly explained the rules beforehand. We made sure she listened. And she was going through the doors and everything seemed fine. And then she did something without speaking it. And the next thing I know, she starts breathing really heavily and she starts panicking and she starts not being able to communicate what's happening. So we're all sitting there, we're trying to get her to wake up. She will not come to. And after a few minutes, we finally get her to wake up and come to, and she just throws herself into my arms and starts violently crying. And we can't get her to talk. We can't figure out what happened. It takes us forever to get her to calm down. And when she finally calms down, her brother is holding her. And she says that she saw the man in black. And she knew not to talk to him, but he came up to her. And she couldn't remember what to do. And so instead of speaking to me and asking me, she panicked and started trying to run away, and it caused problems. And she said she remembered him touching her, like shoulders. And she felt it in real life. And that's when she started to panic. And so we did some healing stuff on her. We did a protection spell on her, and we told her that if she needed us to let us know, and her brother took her home because it was just too much for her. And we're going through, and it's been a couple days since the party, and some stuff starts getting weird at our house. And our house had already had a lot of paranormal activity in it, but it started getting violent. And it started like throwing things, and it started touching us and that sort of thing. And it had touched us once before, but it was not something super crazy. And basically we go to school, and she looks like she hasn't slept in days. Like, it looks like she hasn't slept since we saw her. And it was a Friday night, so it would have been a couple days since we'd seen her. And she looks at me and she asks me, what the fuck did I do? And I asked her what she was talking about. I asked her, what was going on. And she told me that she'd started experiencing things around her house that were scaring the shit out of her. They were like, things were being moved where they weren't before. She was seeing shadows in the corner of her room. She was having extremely vivid nightmares of something touching her. So I got her some protective vigils, and we put another protection spell on her. I told her to line her room with salt. I told her to line the house with salt. And I gave her some crystals to help clear the negative energy. And eventually things stopped happening for her, but things at our house did not stop happening. And it was just a crazy experience, and it really just goes to show that, like, you cannot go into those kind of things with a bad mindset, because you're more than likely to have bad things happen if you go in not optimistic.